Welcome to George Mossey Show. So the single life tell-all part 2 ended, and apparently there's another part 3. And I heard that part 3 is not the end. So we're going to be talking about part 2 tonight. Hey, Judy. Hey, Eileen. We're going to be talking about part 2 tonight. And apparently part 3 next week, and part 4 the week after, and possibly part 5 after that. And I want to get you guys's opinion. Dee, you're texting me. I want to get you guys' opinion on a part 3, part 4, part 5 of this tell-all, which, we've never, the most tell-all parts we all ever got was part 3, and I believe it was Bilal and Shida's season. There were 3 parts of the tell-all. Yeah, Judy, a part 5, possibly.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So at the end of this episode, I know that you noticed that there is another part. There's a part 3. So I wanted to get your reaction on that. What's up, Dana? I want to get your reaction on that because we've never done a 3-part, possibly 4 or 5-part. The word on the street is there's 5 different parts of this. So I want to get your reaction on that because we only got 11 episodes and this season was a bit slow. So how do you feel about this many parts of the tell-all?
If it keeps going the way it's going with the nice drama that we like, I'm all for it. But if it starts like people acting stupid, like Natalie and Josh, I don't know.
Well, Natalie and Josh were a lot of the last part of this part of the tell-all, but we did get Chantel for the first 20 minutes, and we did get some information from Giannis that he feels that she's not ready to jump into a relationship. And I was going to have this conversation. Hopefully, Cara joins us at some point. Let me invite Cara real quick. I want to have this conversation with you because I want to talk about, because you remember Amanda and Razvan, we kind of had a little conversation on hers was not a divorce. She actually lost her husband. But what do you think is the correct amount of time after a marriage is over, if there's an answer to this, when you think somebody is ready to start a new relationship? Or do you think that it's a relative question? It varies by the person.
I think it varies by the person. Because some women or men don't never get over it. Because they mourn the loss of of their husband or wife. And I mean, unless they just really hated each other's guts, if they really hated each other's guts, then I guess whenever they're ready. But if you're like Chantel, she was 1,000% in. She gave everything of her to Pedro. So I think she needs to, like we were talking about the other day, she needs to go fishing. She needs to taste all the flavors, and she needs to have fun, not try to get into a relationship with the first guy that sweeps her off her feet.
Why do you think she keeps reverting back to Pedro? Because I know that was, that's not a good situation. It's not a good relationship. It ended in disaster. But every time she tries to, hey, Tina, every time she tries to move forward, she reverts back to Pedro. And we watch some of the flashbacks, she just compares everything to that situation. And how do you feel about that strategy when it comes to trying to move on? Because I feel like she continuously makes her life about her failure, and I think that it's negative when she's trying to move forward. And I think Giannis, seeing the way that her marriage ending affected her, it kind of made him feel like in the tell-all, like, oh well, I don't think that she's ready to be in a new relationship. And also, is it fair to make that decision for someone else? Like, he made that decision for her. Is that fair, or do you think it's up to her to decide when she's ready to be in a new relationship?
No, it's not fair to her. It's her decision to decide. But I mean, Chantel was very deeply, madly, over obsessively in love with Pedro. And Pedro, I mean, like she said tonight, Pedro like punched her in the gut. He pulled the rug out from up under her. So, I mean, she's going to keep doing it as long as she doesn't heal in the process. If she just keeps trying every relationship that she's going to try to go in, if she's going to try to bring in old baggage from Pedro, and try to say, oh, well, Pedro did this. Oh, well, Pedro did that. Because she's not healed. She's not over him. She's actually still in love with him. She just don't
Interesting.
admit it, but I think she's still in love with him.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. Do you remember the last season of her show? Not the season where they actually went through the divorce, but the season before. He had basically tried to end it with her. He was being nasty to her, and then she was still trying to make it work. So when you said that, I do feel like she is in love with him in some extent, because she never would have ended their relationship. He ended the relationship. He made sure that she knew there was no chance that there was any way to work through it. She wanted to work through it. So how do you think people can fall out of love with someone who doesn't love them anymore? Because I feel like she's still, like you said, she's still in love with him. She reverts back to everything in their relationship, even when she's trying to move forward. And I just feel like, what is the best way for her to move forward with that?
Just to let go. Let bygones be bygones. She's gotta give her time, herself time to heal. I mean, she said it's been 6 months. I mean, as madly in love as she was with Pedro, and still is. I mean, everybody can see it. She hasn't even gave her own self time to actually heal or even start a healing process. Yeah, she went to Greece. Yeah, it was supposedly a divorce party, but what happened? You know, Gianni's swept her off of her feet, and now she's madly in love. So she really didn't even have a divorce party. She went and found somebody in Greece.
Yeah, I think she might be one of those chronic um find your soulmate people, right? Like I feel like she's not a date around person. She started teaching Pedro English and fell in love with him, right? Like, and I think she's one of those girls where she doesn't date around. She doesn't, get to know lots of different guys. I think she finds a guy that she likes, and then that's her guy. And I think that, that's led her into these relationships, like a 7-year relationship with Pedro that turned into nothing. And then I feel like she has high expectations of Giannis. And he said that he didn't want to come here. Well, not to her, but he said that he hasn't made plans to come to the U.S. Part of it is because he feels like she's not ready to be in a relationship. Another part of it is that he's a professional soccer player, and he has a lot of work that takes priority over just, leisure travel. So I feel like he was kind of breaking up with her. Well, hi.
Hi, sorry, I suck.
No, you don't suck. We don't suck. You don't suck at all. We're glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Kai,
So I wanna ask you a question real quick.
me and you need to have some serious conversation, girlfriend.
Yeah.
I will text you when we over, okay?
Okay, so I want to ask you a question.
Me and you I got a bone to pick with you, girlfriend.
Oh,
good.
Keep it nice. Keep it nice. So there's a part 3 to this tell-all. I wanted to get your reaction card, because we've never done more than 2 parts for a single life tell-all. And I heard that there's part 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5. So what are your thoughts on such an extensive tell-all? Because we only got 11 episodes this season. Do you think it's warranted? Do you think that, like, what is TLC doing? Like, remember we've been talking about how they've been breaking the rules and kind of doing their own thing. This is just another example of how they're changing what the expectation is for the show. So what do you think about, because when it ended, they shocked us with, oh, wait, next week you're going to be watching another tell-all season for this season. So how do you feel about that?
I don't think we've had enough of a season to have even a 2-part tell-all. Like, I feel like everything could have been condensed into one.
Well, yeah, I felt like, this season was very slow, and in the 11 episodes, not much eventful happened. So to get like almost, if they did get 5 episodes into the tell-all, which I think is crazy, what are we talking about? Because nothing actually happened. How much longer can we watch Natalie try to convince everyone that she's okay and that Josh is the problem?
I'm still pissed off that Jamal's not sitting on the stage. And
Well,
Louisa.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
Jamal and Louisa were completely absent from this tell-all part 2 completely. That's another thing that I wanted to ask you, because we saw Caesar, we saw Debbie, Johnson, Colt's mom, but we didn't see Jamal and Louisa, who were actual castmates or cast on this season. So how do you feel about that? Do you think that somebody didn't want them to come out because they were going to expose them? Like, why can't we see actual cast members, but we can have a conversation with Caesar, we can have a conversation with Debbie, and we can bring Josh's two business partners out, but we can't get Jamal and Louisa back on stage. I'm really interested in knowing what's going on with that.
I'm so mad about that. I hope that it's because they're backstage plotting their revenge. That's the only thing I can hope for.
I know for a fact we haven't dealt with everything that happened in their scenes.
No.
You know, I felt like it got cut. Like you said,
you got to let them come back out because, like you just said, George, because they went after them, like they went after them. They called them out on their BS.
Yep.
So they had to put a stop to it because, they still want Tim and Veronica around. And if they get called out on their BS, well, then everybody's going to know that they are fake as fake can get.
Right.
And they ain't nobody going to want to watch them anymore.
Yep.
My theory, I remember seeing Veronica get up and walk off stage. I'm assuming she had a conversation with somebody and said, I want them off the stage. That's just my opinion. I don't know. This is all alleged. I can't prove any of it. But when she came back, they were removed and we haven't seen them since. And they let her comment on everybody's relationship. She's been out there commenting on everybody. I'm thinking, of all the people, Veronica, you're not like the person who should be giving advice to people because you got a lot of shit going on that you need to work on. So, like, I get it. Like, you want to be, like, vocal and help people out, but you're the last person that should be telling people how to make decisions in their relationship. Like, of all people, you need to be quiet. You know, like, let somebody else chime in. You know, even I would even listen to Tyree at this point, and we know that Tyree has zero experience with relationships, but he would be more genuine and have more of a point than Veronica would at this point.
But we're also bringing on
Kim to come out.
Who? Say that.
Kim.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm waiting for Kim. I know she's coming out.
I hope so. I mean, I'm hoping if they don't, well, Jamal would have to come back out first. Right? But I hope so. I mean, if Miss Karen can come out and defend her daughter, Kim can come out and defend her son. You know, that would only be fair. We're being fair. I know in this world of reality TV, it's not always fair, but if we're going to be realistic, that's something that I think would be very warranted. You know, I felt like Jamal was kind of, well, I wanted to say he was out there by himself, but I do think that him and Louisa came out together and they're like, look, we're in this together. We're not going to just let them destroy us out here. They join forces, which I think is something you have to do when you're up against people like Tim and Veronica, right? Like, you have to join forces because you're already outnumbered and they're going to unfairly come after you. And I think that the best thing that they could have done was to join forces. And I still think when she ran off the stage, she said something to somebody important and said, I don't want them out here if they're going to attack me. And then boom, we haven't seen them since.
Yep. I don't know. I was going to say the same thing about Karen coming out and defending Chantel. There's no reason we shouldn't have Kim with Jamal, period.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have Debbie and Caesar. That's ridiculous. Just because.
Why we want to put him?
Yeah, they were on at the same time. Who cares? That's the past. This isn't the same season. None of that. And Josh's business partners are literally just there putting in their 2 cents. They're just idiots to attack Debbie.
Yeah, it's very irrelevant. And I think that it's interesting that this Debbie and Josh feud has continued on for like years, right? Like, they still can't stand each other. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Josh isn't an angel, but I think that what he went through with Natalie, I think that he definitely went through a lot. Yeah. You know, I think Natalie put him through a lot. And okay, I want to ask a couple of questions because this was all over Twitter and people were really interested in these questions. So Josh has a daughter and also a son, and Natalie has never met the daughter, and she's never seen where he lives or been inside his home. Is that a red flag? Because I'm getting different answers across the board. If you're in a serious relationship, when is it? Okay, so they were dating for years, right? So is this something that we need to blame Josh for? Is it okay that she hasn't been inside his house?
Hold on, I'm going to flip the script on you.
Okay.
In a regular that's totally a red flag. But would you personally, would you tell Natalie where you live?
No. Only because Natalie tends to attach herself to people and she used their kindness as weakness. And I think that that's kind of how Josh got into this situation. He's too nice. Yeah. He's too kind, and she's taking advantage of him because I get that, yeah, she moved to LA. Okay, also, she tried to make it seem like she moved to LA for Josh when Josh told her, hey, don't move here for me. If you want to move here, do it because this is something that you want to do it for me. And then once she got there, she made her existence in LA 150% his responsibility. And I think that's why I wouldn't tell her where I live. That's why I wouldn't want her to know because I feel like if she knew his address, if she ever got evicted from that apartment, she'd just show up, right? I just feel like she would just show up with her mom and try to move in, right?
Gonna show up even if she has an apartment. She's gonna show up if she's with Mike. She's gonna show up if she's with the next 3 guys, or pregnant by someone, or a sperm donor, or whatever. She's showing up. She hasn't left Mike alone this whole time. So she's like herpes. She just doesn't go away.
I know that's right. But can we back up for a second, though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Josh has already said multiple times, and we know this from the past 10,000 seasons we done seen him and Natalie on here, okay, that he did not want her to move to Los Angeles to try to have a relationship with him. He said it multiple times. But she's like I don't know. I just seen a comment on here. She's like a parasite.
Yeah.
I mean, once she latches on you, she don't let go. So she moved to LA. It's her own fault. She didn't even have a job. She had nowhere to live. And also, Josh admitted tonight that they've never been in a relationship. That's why he was called out as a sugar daddy. And if you remember what was said with him and his 2 friends in the little filming that they had done, they said that is what he's looking like, is a sugar daddy, because he gives her money, he goes and he sleeps with her, and then they go their separate ways, and then she'll call and then she'll cry, she'll need some money, and then he'll go and sleep with her again, and then he'll give her money again, but she's never been to his house.
Yeah.
I think because because someone slipped up tonight and said that is the reason why is because he has a girlfriend living at his house.
Yep.
Yeah. That did come up. And I mean, when she
And
said,
did you see her face? Like, what'd you just say?
well,
Yep.
it's weird that she hadn't put the 2 and 2 together, because apparently she's a very jealous person. And, I feel like if you're a jealous person, you should be able to figure out, hey, I haven't seen this person's home. I haven't met his children. That's a red flag. And you should be able to put 2 and 2 together. And then you call him, you need something. He shows up, you guys have sex, and then he gives you what you asked for. That kind of is the definition of a sugar daddy.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was fully aware of what a sugar daddy is, but I'm pretty sure that's what he is to her. I don't know if he's old enough to be a sugar daddy. Is it an age thing, or is it just the money thing? I thought you were older.
Just a money thing.
I've never had a sugar daddy, so I don't know.
It's just a money thing, but it usually works out that the older men have the most money. So
Right, okay, got it. It's usually that. I think when his business partner said that he was literally wiring money from the business to her, it started to be more clear. I was like, he was a sugar daddy, and I think that he was in over his head because he was using money from the business to try and appease her. And he's like, well, I wanted to help her. She was following her dreams. And I'm like, but you run a talent agency. That's kind of what you do for people already.
Right.
But you charge them, but you don't want to charge her. So you kind of are a sugar daddy. And it would make sense if he has a girlfriend at home.
And then, this dumbass tonight says, like, obviously she just watches movies and sees what's on the screen for Hollywood, because she's like, Hollywood doesn't just take walk-ins. Well, no shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, her excuse was nobody wants to give me work. You have to know someone. And I was like, well, it's kind of true. I'm going to be real. Like, even, and not just in acting, this is kind of in the work world too. Because I remember the thing where people said, well, I can't get a job without experience. And then without experience, I can't get a job. Right? Like, it was that circle. And it works the same way in Hollywood. No one is going to hire you for a film or a show that they're putting thousands, sometimes millions of dollars into if they have no provable work that you've given.
When they've seen you on reality TV and know you're batshit crazy. Nobody that.
I think being on reality TV hurts
Yeah.
your chances of being on regular TV or in a movie or acting. I think it's not respected in the entertainment industry. Like if you've done reality TV, it kind of closes the door for you to move into movies or move on to sitcoms or game show. Like it basically
You
you're
go on there
already
and act crazy like Natalie.
well,
I
right.
mean, but if you go on there, if you go on there and you act like a normal person, I mean, it could probably help you. But if you go on there and you act freaking crazy like a psycho, like Natalie, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and Josh, how many times did he get her job interview?
Yeah.
And she didn't even go to the job to get the job. She went to the job to find out more information on Josh.
Yep.
Well,
Even
she has
restraining order against her.
wait, who?
Hollywood. All of it.
Hollywood? Oh, well, yeah. They don't want anything to do with her. And I think a lot of times when you have done something, when you apply for a role or you send, they just Google you and they know right away to throw away whatever you sent in, you know, because the internet's forever. You know, like all they have to do is Google her and there's a million different things and there's clips of her acting back crazy,
Yeah.
you know, on someone's TV show. And they're like, oh, well, no, we don't want to have that type of energy, you know, on our set. We don't want to have to deal with the craziness or her being difficult to work with or her not understanding the role. You know, I think that her being on reality TV, in her mind, she thinks that it's helping her. It blackballed her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody in their right mind, without being coaxed or extorted, is gonna put her on a TV show or on a movie. Like, you would have to really be extorted at this point. Like, they would have to have something extremely damaging to you, and this was the only leverage,
Yeah.
you know, for them not to destroy you, I think. And for her to think that she could just come over to the USA, no offense, at her age with no actual, you know, not even in the Ukraine, no acting credits, and she was just gonna walk onto a set of a Hollywood movie and become a star, that's insane.
Yeah.
There are lots of people who actually, hey, Crystal, there are actually a lot of people who've worked on movie sets, on TV shows, who work in LA as waiters, waitresses, valet drivers by day, because they don't have that steady booking of income and roles. And she just thought she was just going to come in, you know, on somebody else's dime. Josh was going to put her in the next J-Lo movie and she was going to be a big star. And it's like that level of delusion, I think, is why she ended up at her age with no husband. I mean, she had 3. They all ran. Now she can't find number 4 because the last 3 have warned the new guys, like, hey, don't even waste your time. It's never going to turn into anything. And now she's trying to blame Josh because she was like, well, you will be intimate with me and then not give me children. And I'm like, well, men do not have to give you children because you ask, right? Like, you don't have to marry a woman just because she asks you to. Like, and I think her level of delusion is she's like, well, I decided to give you my time, so you have to, in exchange, give me what I want. And I think that her delusion of relationships is why she ended up here. I don't think that she understands that what a relationship is. I think her idea of a relationship is not a real relationship, and that's why she can't maintain a decent one.
I think she's trying to get pregnant by Josh to trap him because she discovered how expensive sperm is to go buy it.
She did inquire.
And he's literally...
He's got to do something to be able to live for free in the United States. I mean, just saying, because Mike finally got a freaking backbone and stood up to her and said, hell to the no, I'm not giving you a baby.
Well, after 2 years of not speaking to him at all, she's like, hey, do you want to have a baby with me? And he's like, this is not normal sanity question that somebody would ask. Like, why would you even consider having a baby with someone you haven't spoken to in 2 years? You know, and it's like the funniest thing she said on this episode, she's like, LA is really expensive. And I was like, how would you know?
Yeah.
You haven't paid for anything since you got there. How would you know what's expensive and what's not? It's like Josh should be the one who's telling us how expensive it is because he's taking care of you, him, probably his other girlfriend, his daughter, his son. Like,
Your
Josh
mom.
should be right. Josh should be the one telling us how damn expensive it is. You ain't paid for nothing since you got here. Literally.
Now he's paying for the car or the insurance that on the car that you wrecked that he bought. Like, this girl, I just can't. I can't.
I thought it was interesting that they hadn't been speaking, and then the second she was in a wreck, she knew his phone number.
Yep.
It's like she knows the person's phone number that can pay for something.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I understand that because she's like, oh, I'm alone and I don't have any help. And I'm like, well, you moved there knowing that you didn't have anything. It's not anybody else's responsibility to take care of you. And it's like, you put yourself in a bad situation, it's your responsibility to get out. And I feel like she feels like Josh is supposed to save her, or Mike was supposed to save her. And at some point, she's going to have to start saving herself, because now she's not just responsible for herself. Her mom is here.
Yeah.
Two people, two human beings who need to be taken care of, and neither one of them are doing anything to be taken care of. And that's pretty scary, because that could be two homeless people. You know, if you've been to LA, you know there's a lot of homeless people everywhere. And Natalie is one bad decision away from living in a tent, and she needs to get her shit together.
Absolutely.
Yes, and that's what she wants. She wants Josh and Mike. That's why she's playing both of them. She's playing both sides of the fence, because if one's pissed off at her, then she can go and have sex with the other one and then get some money off of him. Then that one gets pissed off at her. She can run over here and have sex with this one and get money off of him as well. I mean, she even told Mike that she wanted to get back together with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
But in the same night, she goes and jumps in the bed with Josh.
Yep.
Can we also ironically point out that Mike's mom supposedly called her a hooker, and she was super, super offended by it, but now she kind of sleeps with men for money? Isn't that ironic?
Offended by it because she is a hooker.
That's like someone called by your full legal name.
Well, right. You're like, call me by my full legal name. But she did not. She was like, she called me a hooker. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, you just said you sleep with him and then he gives you money. You sleep with him and he got you a car. You slept with him and he got you an apartment. You're a hooker, right? Yeah. Like, that's literally by definition, just like by definition, he's a sugar daddy. Like, y'all can't deny it because you're literally telling us what it is. And it's like, if you don't have a job and some man that you've never been to his house is paying your rent, you might be a hooker. Right? Like, you might be a hooker. I don't even know what way to put it.
Tonight. He admitted it tonight that he is her sugar daddy. He admitted it.
He is. He definitely is. And what gets me is why. Why, like, of all people, he wants to sink so much money into this relationship that this
is the only hooker he can be with and get a little bit of money back for the deal, because he's got TLC money. So
so
wash for him. I'll sleep with her. And
so win-win situation.
Yep.
So it's kind of like swiping your miles card. So when you go travel, you get some miles back. So you're getting something back. I get it. Yeah, I like to do that. When I travel, I like to use my miles card. So this trip I have to pay for, but the next one I don't. Yep. I totally understand. It makes sense, because I was like, well, why are you sinking so much money into her? Because he's admitted they've never really been in a relationship. Yep. And Boston John got it right. He's like, he likes you. He likes sleeping with you, but he's never going to marry you. Yep. Like, and I don't know why this is so difficult for you to understand. I think Natalie doesn't get that a man can sleep with you and not want to marry you. I think that in her mind, she's like, well, if he likes me, he has to marry me. And I'm like, that's not how dating works anymore. Like, people don't even really get married much anymore. This is just kind of what they do. They would even move in together and not get married.
He tells the story about her being jealous, about getting in the elevator and two nice looking women. And then she freaks out and's like, why would you take me to a place with hookers and all this stuff? Okay. Then she says, I didn't say that. That sounds like verbatim what would have came out of her mouth. 100%.
She most definitely said that. Yeah. It's funny because when he was telling the story, I could hear it in her voice.
Absolutely.
Like,
me too.
When he was telling me, I could hear her saying it. That's literally what she would do. She freaks out on every opportunity given. Because I was like, when she first got to LA, the first thing they did, he tried to take her out to a nice dinner. And afterward, in the parking garage, she flipped out and was like, I'm here all by myself and I have nowhere to go. You need to give me a place to live, and started screaming and crying in the parking garage. She flips out on every opportunity. You can't do anything nice for her because nothing is ever enough. He took her to a nice restaurant. No, that wasn't enough. You need to get me an apartment. That's not enough. You need to get me a car. That's not enough. You need to marry me. That's enough. You need to knock me up. Like, nothing is ever enough. She has to pick her battles. Either you want a man, a relationship, a husband, a child, pick one. You're asking for too much in the beginning. No man is willing to give you all of that at once. You know, you're not Kate Middleton, right? Like you're not Kim Kardashian. Nobody's just gonna uproot their whole damn life to give you everything you want right from the beginning. Especially when you have those crazy eyes.
Yeah.
The way that she looks at people, she scares me. She's scary.
Yeah.
Now,
and never.
can we talk?
Go ahead.
Can we also talk about how Josh looked before he started sleeping with Natalie to compare to what he looks like tonight? Like shit. And then can we talk about how Mike looked like a total wreck when he was with Natalie to how handsome and clean cut he is now? Hello.
I did notice that. I used to
closed.
Josh looked like he was in his early 30s.
Yeah.
Late 20s when he premiered on the show with Natalie, and now he looks older than he is.
Absolutely.
And I think stress
to the max is what he looks.
Yeah, and he's probably working overtime because he's now paying for 2 additional people. You know, and Natalie is living in, I think she's at $2,000 a month apartment, and I don't know if he bought the car outright, if he's paying for the car monthly.
We've all seen the car. What's that, like maybe $3,000?
It's one of those little tiny cars.
Yeah.
What do you call those? The
I don't know. It's too small for Mike. I know that, and I don't think that's what he bought it for. But
well, no, Josh did not buy a car.
Wasn't he?
When I saw Mike get in it, it reminded me of the clown car, where the clowns get out of the little tiny car. First of all, I was surprised Mike fit in the car.
Yeah,
because I was like,
yeah.
It was like that commercial where Shaq got into the little tiny car with Jimmy Fallon. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
He got in that little tiny car. I was like, oh my gosh, she got him in. Is he going to be able to get out? Right? Like, that was my first question. But I think that he's so in over his head deep dealing with all of her problems and issues that it's stressing him out to the point where he would rather be done with her just for his mental health. Yeah. Right? It's not even about clout or sleeping with her. I think at this point he just wants to be done with her because she brings on too much stress. Oh, is that a Volkswagen, Kelly? I didn't know they made Volkswagens that small.
I think it's a Fiat, but
a Fiat. I think it's a Fiat. You're right. One of my cars is a Volkswagen, and it's pretty big.
If I was buying her something, I would have bought her a moving truck. That way, you can be TFO, but also have a place to sleep.
I like that. I mean, I would have shipped her back to Florida, where she came from. He did. But you all said it. He said, "Don't move to LA unless you're ready, and it's for you." And she got there, and the first night she was like, "You need to find me an apartment." And I'm like, that is not what he promised you. Like, he didn't tell you that he was going to house you. And I think that might have backfired because I think she thought when she got there, he was going to move her into his house. I kind of think that was what she originally had planned. I don't think that she really wanted him to get her a place. I think she wanted to move into his house, and then that way she would have a little more control over his money and his life and everything. And I think it backfired because when she got there, the real girlfriend was in the house. Yep. So he was like, well, shit, now I have my actual girlfriend and then my side girlfriend. I got to put her up somewhere so these girls don't ever run into each other. You know, like I have to make sure that she's on one side of town and my real girl's on the other side of town. And then when we're out together, we don't run into each other. And I think that's where he got caught up.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, the girlfriend could probably be all in it saying it's okay because they getting that TLC money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, at this point, it's been going on for so long. She has to know, right? This isn't their first or second season on the show, right?
So if she didn't know then, she knows now.
Well, right. She either knows and
you slept with her yesterday.
Well, right. Another thing, why is she sleeping with him if they weren't together?
Because she,
and it's
her.
She needed that money.
I mean, that's what I tweeted that earlier. I was like, it must have been close to rent being due, and she needed to make sure that her and her mom's rent was paid. Because I was like, it's clear that they're not together. He's not claimed her since the beginning. So, and she.
Question: do we think that her mom's coming out on the tell-all?
Oh yeah, I'm almost 100% positive she's gonna come. And I have half a mind to think Mike will come out too.
Oh, Mike is going to be there.
Yeah, I believe that we're going to see Mike, and hopefully he's going to bring the divorce papers.
Yeah.
I would love to see him serve her personally. Say, hey, I'm done with you. That would just warm my heart. I want everybody that Natalie has screwed over to come full circle and just say, hey, we're done with you.
Yeah.
You and your mom can kick rocks, right? Like you and your mom can kick rocks at this point. I'm so sick of her. She's worn out every bridge that she's had since she got here. And I think at some point, finally, she's going to be out of options. And then maybe she'll get a job. Maybe, right? Maybe she'll get a job like everybody else has to.
That's.
Oh yeah. What did was Diva? Yeah, Mike does need to bring out his new girlfriend.
Yeah.
And kiss her right there in front of Natalie.
I
Natalie would lose her shiznit.
I believe the new girlfriend was on Flavor of Love.
Oh.
She was on the Bret Michaels dating show. If this is the same girlfriend, I think it is. Mike has been with her for quite some time.
If Mike's girlfriend, I'd come walking out with a big old fat fake Prager's belly and just be like,
look who got knocked up.
He pumped a baby into me.
I love that. I mean, I'm all for karma. You know, I don't bully, but I think karma's perfect. Oh, have a good night, Kelly. Oh yeah, Pillow Talk's about to come on. Yeah. I just think that Natalie definitely needs to get her. She's been getting away with everything for too long, and it's time for her to pay the piper, right? Like you can do what you got to do. It's been happening a lot lately in the news with like R. Kelly, and now Diddy is getting caught. Like people have been getting away with stuff for so long, and karma has finally been making her rounds.
Yep.
And she is not letting nobody off the hook, right? Like she is coming, and Natalie, hers is coming. At some point, she's gonna have to take responsibility for all the people she scammed, and I'm just waiting to watch.
Does anybody else gonna try to hook up with Caesar after this?
Who, Natalie? I mean, possibly. Caesar is a sucker. Remember how much money he sent to Maria?
Yep.
50-something thousand dollars. Like
all about
just so she don't have to work.
Well, yeah, as long as she can get her rent paid and she can keep blindly applying for acting roles in LA, that's all she really wants to do. And Caesar is an easy sucker. Not only that, he's trying to have a baby with no woman.
Literally.
And she's trying to have a baby with no man. It's perfect. It's a match made in heaven, right?
I mean,
a win-win situation.
And I think she's Ukrainian and he's obsessed with Ukrainian, right? Isn't that how? Yeah, he only dates Ukrainian women. So I don't know what took this so long to happen, to be honest with you.
He's a man with 2 legs and a heartbeat. She's obsessed with that. So.
Oh, and a job.
And a job.
She loves that. And a bank account with more than a 1 comma or 0. Now you're speaking her language. That's talking dirty at this point. Like that's talking dirty to her at this point.
Yep.
Wait, the rumor is she's pregnant. I didn't hear that rumor. Where did you
hear
it's
that? All over her social media that she's pregnant with her first baby. I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either.
There's no way.
No.
If she is, it's not Josh's. I really don't believe that Josh is that absent-minded. I want to call him anything else, but I know that he's smart enough to wrap it up. He knows what he's doing, and this situation was to get him on TV. It was not to get him linked to Natalie for life. He's smarter than that. He's a businessman, right? Like we can't put him in the category of being a moron. He's not a moron. So yeah, I'm gonna go look for that story so I can look at it. Is there pictures of Rebelli or something?
No.
I see.
Oh no. Okay. Interesting. Oh, did you guys see the video that Jabri posted? It was a song, and it was about what happened with him and Miona and how their relationship ended. I posted it on my story. I don't know if you guys saw it. So when you see it, next time we go on, I want to talk about that with you guys, because apparently that relationship ended. And if I listened to the song accurately, it sounded as though he cheated on Miona.
That doesn't surprise me.
Really? I thought he was super, super in love with her.
I didn't think they were ever in love, to be honest.
Really? I felt like possibly he was more in love with her than she was with him. That's just how I felt. But I really thought that he was in love with her.
Everybody knew she wasn't in love with him. I mean, it was obvious. She made it obvious.
Yeah. I knew that it wasn't as much going in either direction. I knew that he was going to make more sacrifices for her than she would for him. I mean, I just felt that way. But he even talked about her new husband or her new boyfriend in the song. and he actually said that he wishes them the best. It was actually a really nice, heartwarming song, but he kind of talked about how the relationship fell apart. He didn't think that she was the woman to have kids with him. It's on my story. If you guys want to check that out, I thought it was really nice the way he said that he hoped that their relationship worked out, because, you know, when some people's relationships end, things are not very cordial. And it was kind of sad. You know, I hate to see people fail, you know, but I think that this relationship probably ended like before the holidays, is, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that when we started talking about it? Because
Yeah.
they deleted each other from social media, like their pictures and stuff, like before Thanksgiving. So it took him a while to admit it, and Miona hasn't actually started posting pictures with her boyfriend, but she has been like commenting on his stuff and putting hearts on his pictures and everything. So I guess they're ready to start telling people what's going on. I'm happy for everybody who's happy, right? If Miona's happy, I'm happy for her, right? I'm happy for everybody who's happy.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
If that helps you sleep good tonight, George.
I'm not mad at anybody, but one more thing before we go. Miss Debbie has been talking a lot about the way people dress and how they look and how women are portraying themselves. I want to get a little bit of insight on that, because, you know, in 2024, with the body positivity movement, we have the artist Lizzo, who's teaching women to be comfortable in your own skin, whatever makes you happy. And I think Miss Debbie was trying to say, you know, you need to give a good impression to men of who you are and what you want. So one of the things that she was saying was, you're not going to find a good man by telling them you're not wearing panties. So I want to get your like opinion on that. Do you agree with her or disagree? Because Miss Karen didn't agree, right? Miss Karen was like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with what she's doing or how she's dressing. So who's right and who's wrong, or is everybody right?
I don't think there's anything wrong with what Chantel's doing, but I don't think that she needs to announce it to everybody. You do you, but keep it to yourself. But when you put your shit on TV, there are some things you should leave out. And I don't think Debbie's wrong by voicing her opinion. That's all she's doing, is voicing her opinion. Karen's taking it as she's being attacked, but I don't see it that way. So I feel like it's just her opinion.
Yeah, and Debbie, she's old school too. So, I mean, back in the day, women didn't talk like that. Women didn't dress like that.
Yeah.
So she's bringing the old school into a whole different new generation. But my thing is, you know, it. However, a woman is going to feel comfortable in her own skin, let her be. And Miss Debbie, I mean, how would she feel if they sat there and made fun of her clothes? Because Miss Debbie be wearing some crazy looking stuff.
Yeah, but if Debbie came out and said, here's my flamboyant feathers, also I'm not wearing panties, everyone would have to say.
Yeah. I think that even though we've progressed a lot as a nation, right? Like, I remember in the beginning in history, I was learning about history. We didn't let women vote. We've progressed so far, but I still think we have a long way to go, because we still have a negative opinion of women and women's sexuality. And I think that it's ingrained in us as a people in this nation that we aren't supposed to let women express themselves, and we aren't supposed to let women dress themselves or feel sexy. And then, but I think Miss Debbie was like, feeling sexy and then saying you don't have one panties are two different things. And I do agree, right? Like, you can feel beautiful, feel sexy, but also not have a piece of tape over your private area, right? Like,
if I went out and I was feeling beautiful and I was feeling sexy and I wasn't wearing underwear, I would be the only person on the planet that knew I was.
Yeah, that's a good point. Announcing things, I think, is where it gets a little classless, I guess. Like, you don't have to announce anything, because I remember when I was younger, I used to sing and I took vocal lessons, and my vocal teacher taught me, she was like, because I messed up lyrics one time at a performance and I stopped. And she was like, one thing you need to learn, no one knows you messed up or no one knows you did anything wrong unless you tell them.
Yep.
So she was like, by you stopping and starting over, you let everyone in that building know that you screwed up. And I think it's the same with this situation. No one will know you're not wearing panties, unless you tell them, right? Like you said, like nobody will know anything unless you tell them. So I think it's more so about being less open and a little more secretive with certain things, right?
Yeah.
Like you can walk in and say, hey, I just got divorced and I want to mingle with some new people. That's
Yeah.
okay. You know, that's okay. You can just say, hey, I'm here on a divorce vacation. Let people know and announce that ahead of time, but you don't necessarily need to announce like, hey, there's nothing going on down there in case anybody wants to, you know, that's a different thing. And I think that in 2024, it hasn't really changed. You know, I think that we still need to let women make their own decisions. But at this point, when she was in a foreign country and she doesn't know how things go over there, because, you know, some countries, if you wander too far away from the resort, nobody ever sees you again. You know, so you don't want to give the wrong people the wrong impression and think, because this is how sex trafficking happens, right? But you give the wrong people the wrong impression.
After she announced to everybody in the club that she didn't have no panties, she gets on the back of a motorcycle with a total stranger, rides off. I mean,
Yeah.
how was she supposed to know if he wasn't going to rape her?
Yep, 100%.
Or sell her into trafficking. Like, you don't know these things. And I just think that, especially when you're on foreign lands, because that was the one thing I was taught when I started traveling more. They were like, depending on where you are, do your research. And if people tell you don't wander away from the resort or don't wander alone, listen. You just don't know what's going on in these other countries. You don't know who you can trust. Like, we kind of saw this yesterday on Happily Ever After when Emily and Kobe landed in Africa, and they had everyone carrying their luggage, and then these people demanded money.
Yeah.
Right? And if a little bit of research, you know, on Emily's part, they could have known, like, hey, don't let these random people touch our stuff. They're going to want money. They're going to demand money. And it was very aggressive. You know, we have panhandlers here in the U.S. They're not that aggressive. You say no, they go on to the next car, right? Like, it is not as aggressive. And I think a lot of people, they go over and they're putting a lot of trust in the unknown, you know, and I think that that's a scary thing.
Absolutely. I know I'm not going to camp ever.
Cameroon, yeah, I was very well, did you like the comment? This was a meme yesterday. Emily was like, it's less like the Lion King than I thought. And I was like, Emily, the Lion King is a fictional place. It's a place in the movie that was a cartoon. I was like, not all of Africa has like lions walking down the street. You know, like, it was really interesting because this is a whole nother conversation, but a lot of people were like, she's been married to Kobe for all these years. She has 3 kids with him. She should know a little bit more about his culture. But we're going to get into that next week. We're going to talk a lot more about that next week because I really want to dive into this, you know, learning the culture when you're dating someone or married to someone from another culture. How much do you need to know? And I think that a lot of times the answer is very open-ended. Some people think nothing, you know, and some people think bare minimal. And I think that we need to really get into that.
Yeah.
You need to know as much as possible, especially if you're going to be traveling to their country with them. You need to know, you know, if you don't want to know everything, that's you and yours, but you need to know the important stuff.
Yeah.
The do's and don'ts of that area.
Your children.
Right. And on top of that, your children this is a part of their heritage as well. Yeah. So even not being there, you should have like books. You should have materials where you can help them learn about that heritage, even from Kansas, you know, where they live. I think that is so important that, you know, when these people come over to our country and they have kids and they bring their other cultures and mix, I think it's so important that, especially for like when Spanish speaking people have kids and they come over and they migrate, they teach their kids Spanish. You know, they keep that heritage going.
Here's Emily setting her kids up to teach them. And she's got The Wizard of Oz on TV and The Lion King. You live here, you're from here. That's the extent.
It's gotta be more than that. It's gotta be more than that. And I think that this trip is gonna be good for Coben and Scarlett. I think that they'll get to, first of all, meet their grandparents for the first time, which is so important. But also they'll get to experience what it was like for their dad growing up.
Yeah.
You know, because their life is going to be so different compared to how Kobe grew up.
They they went and bought the clothing and the parents embraced it. And I'm watching their kids have these hats on. And I'm thinking, I begged my kids to put a hat on. I bribed them, and my kids would never leave a hat on. Her kids are well behaved. They're putting on the clothes, and like, that's a long flight. The kids never threw a fit. They're really good,
Yeah.
you know.
I think Emily is an amazing mom. I
Yeah,
follow her on Instagram, and she is like always doing things with her kids. Her kids are out in the garden planting plants, and they take care of animals. I've seen their kids with like turtles. I ain't gonna say anything negative about her parents, and I think Emily's a good mom.
I do
But you
too.
know, I think stepping it up on that heritage for the babies.
Yeah.
You know, they need to know what it's like, and it's not all on Kobe. You know, Kobe should be a joint thing between the
It
two of them. They should be working on
should
it
be a
together.
joint between the two of them, but Kobe should be enforcing it a little bit more since he's the one with the knowledge.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true
He
too.
should be helping Emily learn.
Yeah, it's been like 2.5 years. She should know a lot more, you know? And, you know, we got a place to blame on Kobe a little bit too. Kobe should definitely be having them eating a Cameroon dish every once a week and, you know,
Right.
doing something from that culture as well. But we're going to get into that a little more next week. So apparently we're getting another tell all for the single life. So we'll be talking about that next week and possibly the week after. So, and after that, what's coming on after that? I forgot.
It's Love in Paradise.
Yeah, Love and Paradise.
And
Yeah.
that's gonna be really good too. I'm actually really excited. There's new people,
Yeah.
which it's all that I've ever been asking for. And there's one couple where they started off as two men, and now one identifies as a woman now. So they're moving forward with this person as one. I'm really really excited for this season. Like we've been asking for a new season with new people, with new drama, and I think that they finally delivered. So I'm kind of excited for it.
Hopefully.
Right,
Yeah,
fingers
fingers
crossed.
crossed.
You know how they are. They might throw somebody in there that we've already seen. You know how they are. They like to sneak attack us. They like to do it. They like to throw Ed and Liz and Angela. They just like throw people in there, just throw things up. But either way, we're gonna come back and talk about that next week. So thank you so much for joining us, guys, tonight. We're gonna come back next week and talk about Happily Ever After, the third episode. We still got no Angela. We still got no Michael. We still got no Lauren and Alexi. So there's a lot more to come in this season. So we're going to come back and talk about that. Thank you for my co-hosts, Cara and Didi, for joining me tonight. Make sure you're following them both. They're both tagged in this video. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, georgemossey.com. Anywhere you get your podcast, type in the George Mossey Show. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll talk to all of you guys really soon.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.